When it comes to improving productivity, when we're talking about your creations, this is one technique that I use, still use to this day, that really sets me up for success. Now, if you're a handmade artisan and you're selling online, you are in the right place. The Handmade Daily is really created to simplify and amplify your journey with selling online. And my name's Lena, and I'm the very proud owner of madeit.com.au. Well, we have over 900 artisans, almost 1,000 selling through the platform, but so much more than that. We're a community of like minds and a true collective. And we also have on the Made It platform, Made It masterclasses, which are designed specifically for handmade artisans, from learning Canva to product imagery to getting more sales. They're set up for you to succeed. Now, this idea of improving productivity when we're talking about your creations, I know often when I'm having this discussion with handmade artisans, I guess there's a little bit of a resistance because it's like, no, what I'm creating is free flow, it's artistic, it's one of a kind. And I absolutely understand that, but this is almost like the next step. This is what I like to call the weave, and it's really about being able to celebrate your skills as a handmade artisan, but to also make sure that we're starting to weave in more traditional business methods so that you can really get those sales, but also make a business that's sustainable. Because there's a reality as a handmade artisan, when you're making everything right, these systems and processes are going to set you up for success. Now, the idea that I'm talking about, it's actually component building. And what it means is that where you've got some kind of key components that you've got as the base of your foundation, but you can add other components on top to really add that individuality to it. Now, a great example. Now, where this comes from, I'm from the world of fashion, and I started my career, designing and creating dresses in my garage. And ironically, I've come full circle, but this time I own the garage, and this time I plan to renovate it into my own studio at home. But what it's based on is that, say, this top that I'm wearing, right? And this is a style that I worked on the weekend, new design. You can see little feature through here. I'll stand up and show you a bit later. But the idea is that you start working on almost these pieces that fit together. So for me, being, I had an absolute love for jersey, and I still do. And it meant that I could start thinking about garments almost like blocks. So if we're talking about a garment, there's a bodice, there's a skirt or a hem area, there's a sleeve, and there's a neckline. And with this idea and with this philosophy, what I did is that I built and made components that always fitted together. And so what I mean by this, if we took, this one top, I could put 5 different sleeves on the same top to give it a completely different look. But the idea is with that, because it's based on those same base components, so the component being the bodice, it means that my productivity and my ability to actually make that faster, but also be really resourceful with the materials and everything that I was using, it means that just gets amplified. So for you, my question is how could you start thinking about your creations? Oh, Ted's underneath here, rocking the camera. But how could you start thinking about your creations as components? What would be the base part and what would be the add-on elements? Now, I don't think that this takes away at all from your handmade artistry. In fact, I think it gives you far more creativity and room for improvement on what you're doing by ensuring that the foundations are really sharp. Now, let's take an example of art for an example. When we're talking about, say, a wall art, the foundations for you might be a particular size frame. It might be the size that you can make your art pieces, which makes it really simple for you to send and ship. It could be about what is the process that you do to go get your canvases ready? What is the process that you get that base part of the work really prepped? Now, all of us, even if we're not even aware of it, will have these repeatable processes that turn up in everything that we make. And so what I'm suggesting to you is how you can be conscious of that, and you can start to create a little bit of a production line. So let's say, for an example, if you've got a particular size canvas that works really well for shipping, but also works really well for your style of art, all of a sudden you can maybe start to bulk buy your materials, but you can also start to prep those in advance, knowing that it doesn't matter what I'm working on, that I can work within those dimensions to really amplify the results. Now let's take crochet as an example. Perhaps you do crocheted animals or crocheted toys. How could you make similar parts of the components so that you could get faster at those elements? One idea that comes to mind, right? You might be doing crocheted animals, but is there a way that the body could be quite similar for a few different animals, and then you're simply adding on different heads or different legs to actually create the animal? In that process there, you're actually streamlining what you do from a creative process so that you can get really quick with the body aspect and then know that you get the play and the creativity and the components, but it means that you've got that repetition built in, that system built in, and that process built in. So what do you create? Let me know in the comments. I'd really love to hear if this applies to you, and if you don't think it does, that's even more of a challenge for me, because I'll come back to you in the comments and let you know of a few ideas that have jumped into mind. And if you also enjoyed this video, share it with a friend of yours, and let's make this community grow together.